Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another draft class evaluation video, and today we are focusing on the Cincinnati Bengals. Much like a lot of these other teams in the top 5, this draft class isn't necessarily going to fix every problem that's with this team. So what I'm looking for is a focus and an aggression on certain needs in positions that are desperately needing playmakers. So let's start off with some needs that are desperately looking to be filled for the Cincinnati Bengals, and it all starts up front on that offensive line. Look, they're no Philadelphia Eagles who gave up 65 sacks in 2020, but they weren't far behind with 48. This offensive line was piss poor last year, so any protection, and I mean that sincerely, any type of protection for Joe Burrow with that knee scar, which is disturbing, will help this team succeed. And we go to the opposite side where it doesn't get much better because this defense was one of the worst in the NFL last year. No sack numbers, no pass rushers. This team needs someone up front to be a menace to a quarterback. Yes, they did go out and get Larry Ogunjobi and Trey Hendrickson in free agency, but adding some type of athlete early on in this draft will definitely help this defense. And lastly, for me, I think there still needs to be a focus on cornerback, even with the addition of Chidobe Awuzie and Eli Apple in free agency as well. I just can't trust guys that didn't succeed at other teams, including Awuzie, who, as a Cowboys fan, was not the biggest fan of him. He can't be your starting cornerback. He just can't be. But let's get right into the picks, and we start off with the number 5 overall draft pick for the Bengals, which could have been Slater, which could have been Sewell. It could have been any offensive lineman that they can pick from, but they decided to go with wide receiver out of LSU, Ja'Marr Chase. Was wide receiver really a need for this team? Well, after getting rid of AJ Green and John Ross in free agency, yes, there is some spots to be filled at that wide receiver position. But I'm one of those people that you go for your need right off the bat, and that was offensive lineman. But if you're going after a player outside of those positions, you got to go with a guy like Ja'Marr Chase. This guy is the real deal. Like we talked about with the Falcons and Kyle Pitts, this is one of the best athletes and prospects in this year's draft. The number 1 overall wide receiver. A well-rounded guy with a great route tree, great hands, long arms, a great build and size. You can't go wrong with Ja'Marr Chase. I know Joe Burrow is a little upset they didn't get an offensive lineman right off the bat, but might as well get reunited with a former champion teammate from 2019 who wreaked havoc in Baton Rouge. So I'm going to give Ja'Marr Chase an A. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give them an A+ for Ja'Marr Chase because in the second round, they went back to what they needed to do and get an offensive lineman. And that's guard out of Clemson, Jackson Carman. You want to talk about a guy that's going to help out Joe Burrow from the very beginning. This is going to be your starting left guard. We can talk about how good he is in pass protection or run protection, but let's just talk about what he does best, and it's the aggression on those blocks. He drives into blocks. He's great at finding a body at the second level and driving through those guys. It's amazing to watch. Now, he is consistent when it comes to locking you up on a pass or a run, but at times will struggle with fast pass rushers with great hand techniques, but I won't hold it against him. Now with Zach Taylor, I hope to see improvement in his anchoring ability because that strength isn't developed yet, but I do sense a lot of power, a lot of strength that he could put at the NFL level. So not only do you get a weapon for Joe Burrow, but you get him protection on that blind side. So I love this pick for the Bengals. I give Carman an A. Let's move on to the third round where the Bengals decide to get a stud at defensive end. And that's the Longhorn himself, Joseph Osai. Now, if you've been here a long time, you know that I like to use this phrase, but
this cat could ball, man.
This is a guy that we're going to look back at in 2 to 3 years and say that was a steal in the third round. His field awareness is absolutely remarkable. He knows exactly where the ball is at all times and will go and make a play multiple times in a drive. Does have that versatility to play linebacker and edge rusher because he did play most of his career at linebacker and moved him over to the edge in 2020. So I can understand why he fell into the third round because really doesn't have that much experience at edge. But I think the productivity in just 1 year at edge is really worth the upside. Look, this guy is a monster when it comes to edge rushing. Not only can he find the outside against some of the best tackles in the country, but I love the fact that he can go on the inside and attack from there. And this is only with 1 year of experience at that position, so give him another year or two. I promise you that this guy will be a name that you remember in the years to come. And this is exactly what the Bengals need on defense, an unpredictable athlete. You can throw him at linebacker, you can throw them on the outside, you can put them inside. Throw him anywhere on this field, and I promise you he is an upgrade from anybody you have at this moment. With that inexperience, I hope that he can still improve on his breaking blocking ability, but with good coaching, hopefully that's in Cincinnati, this guy can be fun to watch. This is probably my favorite pick out of the entire Bengals draft class, so I give this an A. The Bengals were very active in the 4th round, and it starts with edge rusher out of Tulane, Cameron Sample. Out of the 3 picks they had on the defensive end position, this was probably my least favorite. He is ideal size for an edge rusher, another guy that can find the inside and attack much like Osai, and does have a nice bull rush with his strength, but I just feel that he lacks an elite ability or trait. He can do everything good, not great, so hopefully development at the next level will get him to that next level. So there's not much to talk about here with Sample, so I'll give him a B. But I can't say the same with their next 4th round pick, and that's defensive tackle out of LSU, Tyler Shelvin. This guy is my type of guy. It's one thing to say that he's 6'2", 350 with long arms and ginormous hands on a wide frame, but until you watch the film, it makes you curious as to what he was eating as a boy. I can't even imagine what Coach O was thinking when he was recruiting this guy out of high school. And you're thinking, with all this talk about him, why did he fall to the 4th round? Well, he's a one-trick pony. He was put on this earth and he was meant for the NFL to be a run stuffer inside, a nose tackle / DT. This guy is the body that you don't want to see if you're running up the middle. He does have a little bit of quickness to him as well, so that pass rushing ability I do think will improve as the years go on. But if you're just looking for a guy to stuff the run and be a presence inside, this is that type of guy. Now, he did opt out of 2020, so there's no film on him past 2019. I do think this is the perfect place for him to land under Ogunjobi and Mike Daniels. This guy will be productive and active and could be a starter in Cincinnati very soon. So even though he is a one-trick pony in the 4th round, it's the trick that the Bengals lack and desperately need up front in order for them to stop being one of the worst teams in the NFL at stopping the run. So Shelvin, you get an A-. We end the 4th round with offensive tackle out of East Carolina, Deontay Smith. The same way that Shelvin looks physically dominant on film is the way that I feel about Smith on the offensive line. He's 6'5", 305 with 35-inch arms. He is long and strong. He will jump off in film with his pure size. Now, this is still a work in progress. He still uses his size for the majority of those battles. You're not going to beat him with pure strength. The same way like Carmen, he will get beat with great hand technique and fast pass rushers. But give this guy some time. But as the years go along, those plays where he gets pulled off a block, where he gets beaten by fast hands or just fast speed, those will go away as the years go on. This guy isn't your starter from day one. It may not be your starter in year 2, but give this guy time. I promise you, he will be a starter at some point in his NFL career. Hell, he can even play guard based on that Senior Bowl workout film. The guy looked great. So I'm not in love with this pick yet, but I think eventually I will be, so I give him a B+. Let's talk about the 5th round pick for them. Not going to be much to talk about here. It's a kicker. It's Florida kicker, Evan McPherson. I'm not a huge fan of getting a kicker in the draft, but I'm also not a big fan of fat Randy Bullock. So if Zach Taylor, you want to take a kicker in the 5th round that played good in college, go right ahead. Let's go into the late rounds, and in the 6th round, they went with center out of Georgia, Trey Hill. He's a well-rounded blocker that can play both center and guard, which is great for Burrow because this is another body you can put on that offensive line. There are some question marks, though. He played some of that 2020 season with significant pain in both of his knees prior to getting surgery on both of them due to a torn meniscus. So of course, analysts and experts are going to be put off by this guy based on those surgeries. Plus, they don't think he has the right pad level for the blocks or the lack of bending to necessarily be a starting offensive lineman in the NFL. Let me be optimistic when it comes to this guy. Look, I think the knee problems were affecting his bending and his pad levels, so we never got the full sense of what he can do at 100%. I think he's great at getting to the point of attack and picking up blitzes as a center, and him and Shelvin are actually teammates now, but back in 2019 in that SEC championship game, they were going at it. And Hill looked pretty damn good against Shelvin. So I do think there's some upside on this 6th round draft pick. And that's all I could ask for from the Bengals, to get some guy in the 6th round that nobody's going to really talk about and possibly use him in the years to come. So we'll see what happens with those knees, but I give it a B- for right now with this grade. The second 6th round draft pick was running back out of Michigan, Chris Evans. Not Captain America. Really? You know better. This one is a very intriguing pick. Now I'll give it to Evans. He is a nightmare to take down. This guy has breaking tackling ability like nobody else in this draft. And it all comes from his legs. Long legs, long strides, all of his power comes from those legs. And he's a natural pass catcher out of the backfield. However, he was suspended all of 2019 due to academic issues. He was kicked off the team and was brought back in 2020, but didn't play much in 2020. The stats don't show it either. As far as his play, he isn't explosive with his speed or agility. He did put up a 4.44 in his 40-yard dash, but I just don't see it on film. And lastly, he does have a fumbling problem, which just puts me off any type of running back in this year's draft. But I get it, you have to replace Giovanni Bernard, who's off the team now, and the Bengals are known for being a committee backfield. I do think Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine are going to be fine, so adding another running back wasn't really useful here. You could have used it on a cornerback or just another defensive player. I'm not a big fan of this pick, so I got to give it a C. We finish off the Bengals draft class with defensive end out of Kansas State, Wyatt Hubert. And let me tell you, man, if we're going to talk about any 7th round draft picks this year, it's got to be Wyatt. There's not a lot of film on him, so I'll say that off the bat that I didn't get a full look into what this guy is capable of. But what I did see was just pure acceleration off the snap and finishing of a play with his engine and his motor. It's unbelievable to watch this guy play. And let's put some damn respect on this guy's name with the numbers he put up at K-State. 8.5 sacks in 10 games in 2020. 7 sacks in 12 starts in 2019. This guy just did not stop. So again, we say, why is he a 7th rounder? Well, he's a bit undersized for an edge rusher. So getting locked up by a bigger offensive tackle or getting pushed off a play immediately off the snap does happen time to time. But please, Bengals, give this guy a chance. He may not be the size of Cameron Sample, but as a second teamer behind Sam Hubbard, I think this guy is worth giving a shot at the pro level. So Wyatt, as a 7th rounder, I believe in you, underdog. I'll give you a B. Like we said at the beginning, this draft class isn't going to necessarily fix all the problems that Zach Taylor has with the Bengals. But all you can do is address the issues you have and try to get some players to fill those holes. I think the Bengals did an amazing job of that. And I personally think that out of all the classes we've looked at prior, this is my favorite one so far. So the Bengals, you're protecting Joe Burrow. You're adding some playmakers on defense. I give you an overall grade of an A. Give me your thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals draft class and what you think they're going to do this year. I definitely think they're going to be better than 4-11-1. Make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we will see you next time on another draft class evaluation.